After winning the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles from the Usos, are we set to see a unification match on Monday Night Raw for the WWE Tag Team titles? Also, CM Punk finally opens up about Shane McMahon calling himself the best in the world. And Dean Ambrose, did he just receive a mega deal from AEW? All this, plus so much more, right here on Off the Script.
Delete! This is mine.
Alive with it. People still did. You know, I'm watching the intro back, and I'm listening to myself, and then I realized that I mentioned after winning the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles from the Usos, who the fuck am I talking about? Who am I talking about? If you did not watch SmackDown Live, you don't know who the fuck I'm talking about. The answer is the Hardys, you fucking idiot. So I just left it. We'll talk about a possible winner-take-all on Monday Night Raw. Also, CM Punk opens up about Shane McMahon. I got news on Elias. Major backstage heat on Elias. I wonder why. AJ Styles apologizing for a huge Wrestlemania botch. And Rey Mysterio, is he now contemplating retirement? We'll see what happens. I got it all right here on Off the Script Extra. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I am JD. If you guys do not know who I am, I'm sorry to hear that. If you're new around here, I'm sorry to hear that. Welcome aboard. What we do here on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all week is the very best in the YWC. We're going to go over all this stuff right here on Off the Script. Follow me on social media. JD from NY206 on Twitter and Instagram. Same deal for both. Make sure you guys are following me where social media is available. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications so you know when I am live with new content. Patreon.com/JD from NY206 if you guys want to support the podcast through the Patreon page. If you missed anything this week, man, it was a long weekend, and I'm thankful that it is all over. My voice can finally get back to normal. TakeOver New York, which was the best show of the entire weekend. Wrestlemania. And then you got Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and we got NXT as well. Ton of news coming out of TakeOver New York, which you guys will hear this week. Jim Ross making a big money move over to All Elite Wrestling. That was the last time I was right here with an Off the Script Extra. Anything you guys might have missed all WrestleMania weekend is right in the eye that you see in the top right corner. That little drop down, hit that eye, drop it down. Everything you need is right there for you if you missed anything. Make sure you guys go and get your t-shirts. Bonfire.com, the exclusive home of JD's Elites. Bonfire.com, link is down in the description. The number one best-selling t-shirt that has ever been right here on the podcast. Bonfire.com, the exclusive home of JD's Elite, linked down below in the description. Let's get into the news, man. I want to start off with this Dean Ambrose story. This Dean Ambrose story is something that I woke up to today, and I don't really understand where this news came from. This is clearly a basement-dwelling fucking cretin thinking that he's got a presence in the YWC, forcing out fake news to everybody. I do not believe this to be true whatsoever, but it was in the fucking dirt sheets this morning. Dean Ambrose offered $6 million a year by All Elite Wrestling. I'll let that sink in. And you're probably saying to yourself, who the fuck would offer Dean Ambrose $6 million a year? I know I wouldn't. First of all, I'd love to know what the fuck Kenny Omega is making. You're going to pay Chris Jericho less than Dean Ambrose? I don't understand that. I really don't understand where this news came from. Dean Ambrose is leaving WWE. That fact is absolutely 100% certain after what we've seen in video following Monday Night Raw. Well, a new report from Slice Wrestling, again, take these reports from Slice Wrestling with the tiniest pinch of salt. These guys are on Twitter, and they suggest that it might only be for 6 months with Dean Ambrose before taking time off and making a return to the WWE. Now, again, like I mentioned, take this with a very, very tiny grain of salt. Whatever these guys are talking about, take with a huge grain of salt. Very inconsistent record of reporting backstage news. Barely anything that they talk about on their own volition comes true. And if it does come true, it came from another source. Now, whether this kind of deal was offered by AEW for $6 million a year, it is unknown. It is not out of the realm of possibility for them to be interested in Dean Ambrose. I know for a fact that they are interested in Dean Ambrose, but for $6 million a year? Yeah, let me throw all my budget at Dean Ambrose while I neglect everybody else on the fucking roster. First of all, they signed Chris Jericho to God knows what. It was the most lucrative deal that he's ever seen in his entire life. So when he comes out and says that, and then you look at this, I don't think Chris Jericho's the most lucrative deal in pro wrestling anymore. This is Brock Lesnar type money. You're going to give Brock Lesnar WWE-like money for whatever he does, and then you're going to look at Dean Ambrose and offer him the same fucking contract with less dates and creative control? What are we playing? Fucking, what are we playing? General manager mode in some WWE game? I would never offer Dean Ambrose $6 million a year. That is absolutely the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Do I have an interest in Dean Ambrose if I'm a pro wrestling organization? Absolutely. Absolutely. But Dean Ambrose is gone from WWE. He's gone. I don't see him coming back to WWE whatsoever. In fact, I think it would be a foolish move for him to go back to the WWE. Nobody is really taking into consideration how great of a move this is for Dean Ambrose to be away from World Wrestling Entertainment. This is a career move. A career move. I've mentioned this once before, and I'm going to mention it again. If Dean Ambrose stayed with the WWE and signed his name to the dotted line, gave Vince his soul for another 5 years, there would be absolutely no change in Dean Ambrose whatsoever. Rollins is up here. Reigns is right below Rollins right now. Ambrose would never ascend the heights of a Roman Reigns or a Seth Rollins in WWE. He's been WWE champion once before. Did he ever feel special as WWE champion? No, he did not. Nothing Dean Ambrose, outside of the early days of the Shield, even stand out as memorable. Dean Ambrose leaving WWE to go to an AEW, if this is his career trajectory, if this is what he wants to do, this is the best decision for himself. Absolutely. He'll go over there, he'll get less dates, he'll get a big money contract because of what he brings to the table and the fact that he is a former WWE champion, a former WWE superstar. The man holds name value. But the most important thing for Dean Ambrose to do is to separate himself from the two guys that he's been battling through most of his career. And I don't mean fisticuffs. I don't mean in the ring, one-on-one, feud-wise. I mean Dean Ambrose is battling Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns for a top spot in WWE. He knows that he would never achieve that height with them there. The only way to separate himself from the pack is to go somewhere else. Build your resume for 2 or 3 years, make yourself a main event guy, show WWE that you're more than what they were doing with you, and then after the fucking time away, you come back and you may even be a bigger star than both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. That's what you need to do. Don't give me this shit about, oh, I'm going to miss Dean. This is a bad move. This is the best move for Dean Ambrose that could possibly be. Why stay stagnant? Why stay complacent? Go on and do something else and make a fucking name for yourself away from this bullshit. If Dean Ambrose stayed in WWE, he would be everything that he complained about. Staying for the money and staying comfortable. I don't respect a guy like that. I don't. The fact that he is contemplating even going anywhere else in wrestling, that's what I respect. Because that means you know what you have and WWE doesn't. And they don't want to channel the true talent that this man has. The only way you're going to get that out is if you go and do it yourself. Just look at the fucking guy that could possibly be your new boss. Cody Rhodes did it. Look at where he is. Nobody's going to be a Cody Rhodes and leave WWE and go be the executive vice president of your own fucking wrestling company with Khan behind you, funding you with $7.6 billion fucking dollars. But Cody Rhodes is the trailblazer for all these guys to think to themselves, you know, I don't need the big corporate fucking monster that is WWE. And Dean Ambrose is already 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps ahead of the fucking game. He's been in there. He knows how they operate. He's a fucking champion. A part of one of the greatest stables that company has ever assembled. He goes anywhere else, he's a main event guy. That's just not coming from me. Jim Ross said it. If Dean Ambrose wants to leave WWE, I guarantee you he's already set to be a main event guy anywhere he goes. He ain't a main event guy on WWE television. This is the best move for him. $6 million a year. Slice Wrestling is absolute garbage. I don't know where the fuck they got that information from, but clearly they're using that to pull traffic to their own website. $6 million a year. He ain't making more than Omega or Jericho. It'll be up there, and he'll have the perks of some creative control to bring out that fucking Ambrose that we haven't seen ever. And he'll be making enough money to make him and Renee Young and their life fulfilled. This is a great move. $6 million a year? Hardly. AEW? A possibility. Nobody knows this but Dean Ambrose. CM Punk opens up about Shane McMahon being called best in the world. Now, CM Punk has been quite vocal the last couple of weeks. I don't want to turn this around and become some fucking idiot on YouTube who titles CM Punk in every other video and claims that he's coming back. But CM Punk is being more open about his thoughts in pro wrestling, or on thoughts, or having anything to do with pro wrestling. He was at the Chicago Comic-Con with the elite guys. He was there with Omega and the Bucks and Marty Scurll. So clearly, Punk is still surrounding himself with pro wrestling, but the WWE side of things is right now dead. CM Punk opened up about Shane McMahon, and he realizes that Shane McMahon is now calling himself the best in the world. And he actually had an interview as of late, and he explained to Stadium's Sauce and Shram. Never heard of these guys. They might be a local Chicago thing. I don't know. But he had an interview with these guys, and he says this, and I quote, "I think he's calling himself the best in the world, and I think it's a funny thing about the company. And yeah, it's a little shot at me, and you know it probably is the case, but they deny it up and down until the cows come home." So that's all CM Punk had to say about that. We may never see WWE and CM Punk work together again, but, you know, never say never in the world of pro wrestling. Whatever WWE's intention was of calling Vince McMahon's son the best in the world, nobody will ever know except those on the inner circle, but it definitely seems like a watered-down idea to kind of poke fun at the, I guess, history that CM Punk created for himself in the WWE. We all know that it is. We all know that it's a shot at CM Punk, because who realistically is going to come out on TV and call themselves the same thing that CM Punk called himself for many years in WWE. It is definitely a shot at CM Punk. They won't admit it. People aren't fucking dumb. Every time CM Punk is in the thoughts of people, they think, oh, he's the best in the world. How many of you own that fucking t-shirt? I know I do. I own 2 of them. Just because you can't find them anymore. But when Shane McMahon comes out and he starts proclaiming that he's the best in the fucking world, and has Greg Hamilton call him the best in the world with some monster introduction, of course you're going to think CM Punk. Brooklyn actually aimed best in the world CM Punk chants at Shane McMahon on SmackDown Live, and the look that he gave said it all. He rolled his eyes and he said, please, please, as if it was a way of, fuck you, I'm better than him. CM Punk knows he's no dummy. Now, the fact that CM Punk is kind of still mingling in with the wrestling crowd, I would not find it to be shocking if CM Punk shows up for an All Elite Wrestling or gets his feet wet again in the pro wrestling industry. You know, Punk wants to be around himself. Punk wants to surround himself, I should say, with people that are very much like him. And I've said this many, many times before in the past. Punk and everything that the guys in the Elite are doing, that's a very common mentality between those two. Very, very, there's a lot of sameness there. So if Punk is going to work with anybody, I honestly do believe it's going to be them. Now, Punk might not be all about the money, but they are definitely the platform for him to get back into this thing called pro wrestling. And if Punk really wants to challenge himself, look at all the fucking matchups that are awaiting him over there. And for somebody like CM Punk to go to an AEW, man, if they get CM Punk, holy shit, that is going to absolutely turn everything that we are talking about with AEW and WWE upside down. You know, there was a rumor that Tony Schiavone was recently on the Jim Ross podcast, and he mentioned that AEW right now is in talks or discussion with somebody to bring them in for their national TV debut, and this man that they're teasing, or Schiavone was anyway, that they're talking to, has major TV exposure. I don't really know who else that could be. Punk is on that list. Ambrose could certainly be on that list. Goldberg could certainly be on that list, being that Goldberg was being talked about working with AEW. You know, I don't know who else it could be right now in the landscape that is pro wrestling that has a major fucking, presence on TV, great national exposure. Who else is there? Yeah, Dustin Rhodes, Cody's brother. I don't think he's in that category of great national exposure. Who else is there? We'll see what happens, man, but I would not be shocked if CM Punk comes out of retirement and works with AEW, whether it's on a, special time basis, maybe a match here or there, or he comes back semi-full time. I would not be surprised. But best in the world, WWE is clearly using that moniker for Shane McMahon as a dig at CM Punk. Winner take all tag team title match on Monday Night Raw? I wish. WWE loves to take ideas and fucking ram them into the fucking ground. The winner take all stipulation is something that they seem to be loving as of recent. The WrestleMania main event, which we saw Becky Lynch take both Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. That obviously was the first deal. Then they had Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw, winner take all, which ended in the biggest bait and switch fuck you that WWE has ever done to a crowd. Now the Hardys took to social media after winning the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles from the Usos. After their win, Zack Ryder sent out a tweet saying, "How about the Major Brothers versus the Hardy Boys?" It didn't take long for Matt Hardy to reply to this, stating, and I quote, "Winners take all in Montreal. Got a hell of a ring to it. We're down." Now, if this match does go down, then we can only imagine that there will be a lot more shaking up during the Superstar Shakeup than some fans have expected. The idea of unifying titles could lead to the end of a brand split, but if WWE really has the intention of merging the divisions, they wouldn't have much use for a Superstar Shakeup unless they just plan on having their title belts and simply letting everyone float between brands. Now, this is an idea that I have been running with for the last 3 years. And I honestly believe, where you might not agree with me on the women, I definitely think it is best for the tag team division. Actually, the women and the tag team division on the men's side. The women's singles division, where Becky Lynch owns both titles right now, and the WWE tag team title situation for the men. I honestly think both of those divisions need to be floating. There needs to be a brand split of sorts because there's just too much talent that is going to get lost in the shuffle. US title on SmackDown, IC title on Raw, WWE title on SmackDown, Universal title on Raw. Do you realize how much better off SmackDown and Raw would be if you see a rotation of talent on the undercard with the women and the tag team division? Look at all the tag teams that WWE is not using. I don't even want to go into it. It's disgusting. All the misuse of talent. And then with the shakeup, you got the Hardys on SmackDown Live. The Hardys versus The Bar or the Hardys versus the New Day. Not really all that intriguing to me. Then you're going to move the Usos to Monday Night Raw. For what? You're going to move the Usos to Monday Night Raw to feud with who? Who? They faced legitimately everybody in WWE. The only match I'm interested in seeing from the Usos is a match with the Revival. And WWE has done the Revival no favors. Now, if they really wanted to do something here, I honestly think that if WWE wanted to have fun, split up the tag team champions. Split them up, put one on SmackDown, one on Raw. At that point, you got no fucking champion at all. WWE decides at the end of the night, we're going to strip you of the tag team championships, and we're going to have a major fucking tournament for this major unification match at Money in the Bank. And we're going to have every team in the WWE comprised in this tournament, and at Money in the Bank, we're going to have new tag team titles made, and we can have the finals at Money in the Bank in June. Or in May, if WWE wanted to do that. Whenever Money in the Bank is. It's May this year? I don't know why it's in May. But upon winning the tag team titles, they could have either stripped the titles from the Hardys or the team of Ryder and Hawkins and put everybody in a tournament. I don't understand why WWE is so inept at making something feel so important. With whatever they're doing, I just get a sense that they're just going to do what they usually do, split up the teams on Raw and SmackDown, just give new faces to these shows, and it's going to go right back to being boring within 2 months. You can't call a division 5 teams. I've said this with the women. You can't call a division 5 fucking teams. You're going to see rinse and repeat by month number 2. And WWE doesn't have a focus on tag team wrestling anyway. So, some of the teams might not even be used. They'll use who they want. Flavor of the week. They need to take every team in this company, which equals up to about, 9, 10, maybe 11 teams, and have them rotate. You got 3 hours of Monday Night Raw to fill. Make them feel important. There's no reason why we can't get 2 tag team matches on Monday Night Raw. A tag team match on SmackDown Live. Not everybody has to be used every week. It's a rotation. You start using the same fucking teams and giving me the same feuds every week, nobody's going to care. The interest in that is going to go right out the window. But if you got an Usos on Raw 1 week, and then the next week you feature somebody else in a high-profile tag team match. Same thing on SmackDown Live. Where you didn't see the Revival on Raw, then you'll see them on SmackDown. And then the Revival on SmackDown the next week might not be there. Then you showcase Heavy Machinery or a Sanity or a New Day. It's not that difficult. It really is not that difficult. Honestly, if WWE wanted to do this winner-take-all tag team match, it would probably be the simplest way to get where we need to get with the tag teams. It's just that this idea doesn't really embody planning. It's just, we'll throw a champion here, champion there, merge the titles, and boom, there you go. It's a quick solution with no explanation to the overall problem. I would like some explanation as to why we get to that type of match. Or I would like there to be, a exclamation point on the shakeup that fucks up the rhythm of the tag team championships, and WWE is forced, because of the unpredictability of the shakeup, that, okay, now we don't have tag team champions on SmackDown Live. Here we are on Monday Night Raw with 2 fucking sets of champions. Make it unpredictable. Why not? Ryder and Hawkins get drafted to fucking SmackDown, or the Hardys get drafted to Monday Night Raw. Never mind the splitting of the tag teams like I mentioned before. Why not draft the Hardys to Monday Night Raw? We got 2 sets of champions on this show now. That's the unpredictability of the shakeup. We don't know what's going to happen. So what are we going to do? At that point, you either merge the titles in a winner-take-all match, or you strip both teams of the titles and you merge the entire divisions. That's what I would do. Give everybody watching at home and watching in the audience a sense of, oh shit, we got 2 sets of champions on Monday Night Raw now. And then by the end of the night, WWE makes an executive decision. We're doing away with the entire tag team division. The tag team division is as one now. All tag teams will now be featured on Raw and SmackDown. They got an easy out with Becky Lynch. All they have to do is make the announcement. I don't see Becky Lynch working Raw and SmackDown. Come on. Just merge the fucking divisions together and get this shit on the road. It is not that difficult. Every show that you watch from here on out will be easier to watch. There'll be more quality content, and then you can really focus on building other acts in the division to make their way up and really give us a sense of who belongs and who does not belong. I don't understand why this is so difficult. I really don't. That's a great idea, but will WWE do that after all my fucking ranting here? No. Everything I said will be a waste on words. AJ Styles apologizes for huge Wrestlemania botch. AJ actually took to Twitter, I believe, and he understood the fans couldn't see. They were chanting, "We can't see," and turned the lights off instead of enjoying the match between he and Randy Orton. Randy Orton reacted to this on Instagram, apologizing to everybody. AJ Styles says, "I was so disappointed that you guys didn't get to see a fantastic match at MetLife Stadium." AJ Styles was also reportedly injured during this match as well, which makes it even more frustrating that there was a lighting problem and people didn't get to see what was happening in the ring between he and Randy Orton. Clearly, this is not going to be a thing moving forward. WWE clearly needs to rectify this before next year's WrestleMania, but this is not going to be the last match between Styles and Randy Orton. I firmly believe that this feud will continue, and it's going to get better. It's going to get better. The feud's going to get better. There might be some stipulations on top of these new matches that we see between the two, and I think the quality of matchups between the two guys is going to get a little bit better than what we've seen at WrestleMania. Elias, backstage heat in WWE. Let's see. Elias is one of the more popular acts on Monday Night Raw. His job is to come out on television for 7 or 8 minutes, defaming whatever city he's in, playing a few notes, and then ultimately getting interrupted. He was actually on the Not Sam Wrestling podcast with Sam Roberts, that fucking Brillo head. Elias revealed that he gets yelled at all the time for frequently going on too long. However, he says that won't stop him from performing to the best of his ability. He says, and I quote to Sam Roberts, "I get yelled at all the time over how much I take or how much time I take up on television. But in the end, they know it is good television." Really? Is it really good television? Or is it television that we are programmed to accept that is ultimately fucking boring, which is rinse and repeat every single week? So it's like that balance right there, he says. Elias is very talented at what he does, and I wish we'd see more of him instead of the comic relief with him playing and getting interrupted. And it's just a novelty act that has gone stale and has really overstayed its welcome. Either way you look at it, people enjoy Elias. I just don't think that WWE is utilizing Elias at all to his peak potential. Elias also mentioned on the same podcast with Sam Roberts that he has Dusty Rhodes to thank for his gimmick. He says, and I quote, I was having a conversation with Dusty Rhodes. I was just talking to him about my life and who I am and whatnot. Sure enough, the next time I talked to him, I brought in a guitar I told a little story to him about my life while I was strumming, and he was like, dude, that's it right there. Dusty said that's his gimmick right there, the drifter. Elias said that Dusty Rhodes saw it all before he was even thinking about it, and he wasn't surprised by anything. He was interested in that gimmick, and it stuck. When Vince McMahon had the opportunity to give his opinion, he obviously agreed that the American Dream had it right, because Elias hasn't gone away from the overall original gimmick that Dusty said was the way he should go. So that's cool right there, man. It's a nice little backstory for Elias and his gimmick that right now is the same on WWE television as it was, just a little more polished on the main roster from his days in NXT. Ember Moon says that her eyes are now more open than ever before upon her return. And what do you see, honey? You see the fucking hellfire and brimstone that is Monday Night Raw. Ember Moon worked the Royal Rumble with an injured elbow. As soon as that event was over, she required surgery. She didn't stay gone for long because Ember Moon made a return at WrestleMania to compete in the Women's Battle Royal. Great way to debut one of your top women in a Battle Royal that means nothing. And she wasn't even on fucking Monday Night Raw. She was not even on Monday Night Raw to return to in-ring action. No sign of Ember Moon. So her debut, or her reintroduction rather, came at the WrestleMania Battle Royal that flew right under the radar. Wasn't a big deal. Whereas that woman returning to the women's division could be a huge impact move. Moon was absent from Raw and SmackDown this week, but she is still cleared to compete. Ember Moon commented about her injury hiatus on social media and how she is taking the path least traveled after having her eyes opened during this short hiatus. She says, and tweets at WWE, "To entertain at WrestleMania, I returned. I fought to cut down my expected return date for my dreams. This was my first surgery, and it made me open my eyes to so many things. My journey on the path least taken starts now. Revived and determined." And she signs it, the War Goddess. Now, we don't know if Ember Moon is going to stay on Raw or move to SmackDown. If WWE, if they don't merge the divisions, you know, we mentioned Sasha Banks and a Bayley. If Ember Moon, right now, the way we see her, stays on Monday Night Raw, there's no hope for this woman. If there is still a brand split intact for the women, Ember Moon needs to move to SmackDown Live. She needs to invigorate that women's division over there, and I would love to see Ember Moon versus an Asuka, Ember Moon versus a Nikki Cross, Ember Moon versus basically anybody. Really. This woman was one of my favorites in NXT. She's got a fantastic look. She's great in the ring. She's got one of the best finishes in all of the WWE in the women's division. There's no reason why this woman cannot be a top player, top star in the WWE. No reason. No reason. Now imagine if the women's divisions were merged. What type of matchups we get on a weekly basis? Ember Moon versus Ruby Riott. Ember Moon versus a Sasha Banks. Ember Moon versus a Lacey Evans. Ember Moon versus a Nikki Cross. An Asuka. You know? Rinse and repeat. There needs to be some sense of competition in the women's division to finally just gauge on who Becky Lynch is going to defend against next. Not everybody's going to get a women's championship match every single month. You got to have it. You got to have that old school mentality. You got to have just, I wouldn't say WWE bring back like a ranking system, but wins and losses moving forward need to fucking matter. You just can't pick whoever you want to get a championship match because of their looks or just because they're the flavor of the week. Like Lacey Evans is punching Becky Lynch. Badass Becky Lynch. Lacey Evans is punching Becky Lynch wearing nothing but fucking summer dresses, a top hat, and high heels. And Becky Lynch is doing nothing about it. You can't just pick Lacey Evans out of a fucking hat and say, yep, that's Becky Lynch's next challenge. You can't do that. What has Lacey Evans done to get a fucking championship match? Have her run through an Ember Moon, or have her go in a match against a Ruby Riott or someone like a Nikki Cross. Show me that you actually fucking deserve to be there. There's no competition. If you have split rosters, Who is there on SmackDown Live right now, before the draft, that we say, this is it? A Carmella, a Naomi. That's not enough for me to say, yeah, Lacey Evans deserves the title match. No. Come on, man. Ember Moon needs to be in that fucking Asuka, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley conversation. She's too good. Look at her first year on Monday Night Raw. Look. What have they done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Hopefully she moves over to SmackDown Live if the divisions are still split and she gets a fresh fucking lease on life. Brand new start over on SmackDown Live. She's too good. Finally, guys, Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio may be contemplating retirement after missing WrestleMania, or not missing WrestleMania, after being squashed in WrestleMania against Samoa Joe. He spoke to Bustin' Open Radio. Mysterio addressed his career's future. Mr. 619 has been able to get through his tenure as a pro wrestler, but everyone has an expiration date, especially after Mysterio has been doing this for so long. He says, and I quote, I've been able to not only see, but live the evolution of this sport. And like Mark Henry mentioned on the show, there's a huge difference between when I broke in 15 years later to another 15 years, because just this past March, my wife sat down and Dominic sat us down and she joined us. It's been 30 years since I've been doing this, and we discussed all of it. I just wasn't forced to grow up faster than others, but it was my decision that I wanted to be part of this beautiful sport that I started at a young age. I got the opportunity and I ran with it, and it just made me see things differently than other kids. The evolution of this sport has been so dramatically different in the change, and I definitely don't see myself doing this many more years, although the opportunity that I've been given with the return to the WWE and be able to face guys the caliber of Andrade, who is a third-generation wrestler, has been incredible. End quote. Mysterio said that he still has a desire to wrestle, but his body might not disagree. He certainly can't handle a full-time schedule like he once did. Hopefully Mysterio will be able to rest up and heal whatever is wrong with him right now with his ankle so he can make a return and get right back to it. Honestly, the reason why Mysterio is in the WWE right now is probably because they offered him so much money so that he doesn't go to AEW or New Japan. Pretty much, WWE wanted Mysterio off the market. Because if you're bringing someone in, like Rey Mysterio, and you have no plans for him, like they've had no plans for him, the only reason that I see Mysterio is here is because they wanted to keep him away from everybody else. Because look at how they're utilizing him. He may be hurt now, fine. But the time that they had him, dating back to when he first came back in October, what have they done with him? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. The one thing that we can go back and look back at is his matches with Andrade on SmackDown Live. That doesn't really resemble a successful return to the WWE. The only reason why Mysterio is here in the WWE is because he is kept away from All Elite Wrestling or New Japan or whomever WWE finds to be competition. That's it. And that's a sad fucking thing to say, because the guy can still go. If you watch his work in Lucha Underground, the guy could still fucking go. He might be hurt now, but Mysterio still can offer so much so, more than anybody else on that roster, even now. He looks great. He still moves like Rey Mysterio. So the fact that WWE is not using him should be all the answer you need as to why they really brought him in. Because if they wanted someone with the name value of Rey Mysterio back with the WWE, he should automatically be in contention for something, or a major player in something. And Rey Mysterio right now is meddling in the mid-card. It's fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Rey Mysterio contemplating retirement. I don't think he's going to retire anytime soon. It's just right now, he's down and out. Ankle injury. It was a little hiccup. And listen, the ankle injury should have never even fucking happened. WWE was so pushy with the fact that, it's Corbin and Rey Mysterio on Monday Night Raw. If that match never happened, Mysterio would have got a match with Samoa Joe at WrestleMania. And Rey Mysterio right now, we wouldn't be talking about him being hurt. It's all WWE's fault for giving us something that nobody fucking asked for. Nobody wanted to see. Nobody's talking about. All for the sake of a fucking ankle injury now. Rey Mysterio's out for God knows how long. He ain't going anywhere. I just hope that when he comes back, he actually feels special. And I mentioned this before. Mysterio and anybody else that comes in when they were rocking and rolling on the independent scene. Mysterio was working for New Japan. Mysterio was working in Lucha Underground. And wherever else he was working. He felt fucking special. Now he comes to WWE. As soon as he walks through those doors, he feels, it's almost as if he's humanized. That special appeal is no more because WWE takes you and makes you as ordinary as everybody else on that roster. And that's exactly what happened to Rey Mysterio. Exactly what happened. What happened to Batista? Look at Batista. He comes back on SmackDown 1000. Everybody's all happy about Batista coming back. He's on Monday Night Raw. He's attacking Ric Flair. We're off and running for WrestleMania. As soon as he started showing up on WWE TV more regularly, ordinary, plain, not exciting at all. And that goes for everybody. What happened to Nakamura when he came up from NXT? What happened? He was special as special could be in NXT. On the main roster, goodbye. Ordinary. Finn Balor, same thing. And everybody else, it's going to continue to have Bobby Roode. You guys know the names. You know the names. Everybody that comes up from NXT or comes in from another company on the outside that walks into WWE, they may feel special. As soon as they walk into that main roster, humanized. They feel ordinary. And it's going to happen. Sadly, it's going to happen with Ricochet and Aleister Black before all too soon. It's going to happen. Believe me. That's off the script, guys. Thank you so very much. A lot of news, a lot of extra news, and I'm glad you guys are here to enjoy it with me. Make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. And I will see you all right back here with more content on the channel. I got AEW news as well. Don't go anywhere, man. Action-packed all week until we get to episode 269 of Off the Script this weekend. Until then, guys, hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you right back here for more news on the channel. I'll talk to you guys later.